this meeting to order. Call roll, please.
Kinsey,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Mossberg, Logston.
Here. Next item, we'll go on to item 3. We did have a quorum, so. Item 3, approval of minutes of regular meeting held 5/10 and 21.
I move we approve the minutes from May 10th.
Second. I've got a motion and second. Call the roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston.
Yes. Item 4, reports from staff. We have an attachment to 12-month fuel comparison. The aging AR fuel report and fuel sales report. I guess this is something we can look at. And next item,
Well, I was going to ask on
we
the
needed to,
on the aging report. I noticed that some people have a credit and a balance owed. Can we just swap those out, or what?
We've never done that in the past. I mean, I don't know what the rules are, because
Well, one of those he paid, he wanted it specifically to go to hangar.
Okay.
but I know, and the hard part is we don't really have any policies about charging on fuel. Like, we put our policies in place for hangars, but we haven't done anything for fuel, and it's not horrible, but it could stand to be better. So I don't know if that's something that we need to look at. It's kind of like we found the loophole, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's something for us to maybe have a discussion at another meeting regarding policies for fuel.
That's the only question I have.
anything else on the attachments? If not, we'll go to the next item, City Council report.
You know, I don't know that Angelica would share this sentiment, but I really feel like we've gotten off to a good start as a city council. Our committee meetings are going real well. We're probably operating as a council as well as we have since I've been mayor. Our council members are attending our committee meetings, regularly as intended. And Angelica is doing a great job of making sure that we're all prepared for the different discussions and things like that are happening. And I'm really pleased with how we've got the start we've gotten off to with our council members and the work that we have to do. We have been participating with the State Auditor Inspector's Office in the citizen petition audit, and Angelica has probably borne the brunt of that, digging up information and fulfilling requests from the State Auditor Inspector's Office, and that is ongoing at this time. Despite aside from it's a pretty big inconvenience for her, to the workflow anyway. It seems like it's going pretty well, all things considered. So we'll look forward to when they complete their work and have a report for us. A lot of the things that have been identified throughout this process have already been corrected within the last 12 to 15 months or so. So I take away from that when as soon as we knew there was a problem, we took measures to correct the problem. So that's really going pretty good. We'll have a budget hearing on the 15th? Tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow evening at 6:30, 5:30? 6:30 at City Hall. So the public will be invited to the budget hearing to make any remarks they want regarding the budget, ask any questions, that kind of thing. And then we'll approve the budget at the meeting next Monday night. I did speak with 2 people that had been recommended regarding the open position on the airport board, and they're not able, not that they're not interested, but not able at this time. I had another promising conversation this afternoon, which hopefully, in the best case scenario, we hear something by the end of the week from them, and I'll make a recommendation for approval on the next city council meeting. They'll be here in our July meeting if that happens. But I told them though not to rush their decision and make sure that they're up for it. And, but it was a good conversation, I think. I hope to hear something soon on that. Angelica, is there anything else council related?
So the last council meeting, we approved the opening of a checking account for the airport fund. And so I've been working with Trent to get that set up. And so then we will make sure that we transfer the money we're repaying back from the borrowed funds into that account. So we should, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was around $350,000, I believe, is what we were anticipating transferring over. So that puts us ahead of schedule. And I think for myself, and I believe I would speak for Mayor Parker, is we're really excited about the fact that things are moving in that direction. And so we'll continue to operate out of the pooled cash, your claim on the pooled cash, really until we get everything transferred over. But hopefully, I know that was the wish of this commission, and I hope that makes you guys feel more comfortable about how things are progressing forward.
And council is hoping to be able to do the same amount next year. I think the 10-year plan was at 100 and some, about 110 a year.
119.
119 a year, and so to be at 350, I'm pretty happy with that.
On the city budget, is it the same as last year? Is it increased? Revenues to increase?
We budgeted an increase in revenue with regard to utilities, but that was it. We budgeted flat otherwise.
We budgeted flat with what we had received in this year.
Right. Which actually is a little bit less than what we budgeted last year.
And then the other thing, we have an increase in the general fund for the 522 revenues for the ambulance department.
Oh, yeah. There is a possibility, and it's probably going to be a budget amendment later on, but it's the American Rescue Plan has approximately $800,000 for the city of Alva. And so we didn't go ahead and put that revenue in the budget, but it's likely that we'll be adding that revenue to the budget in the next fiscal year. So those funds can be used, best of my understanding, and they haven't released all the strings yet to the public what those are going to be, but best of my understanding they can either be used for public safety staff wages, broadband infrastructure, or water infrastructure. And so we're anxiously awaiting word from the state, what all the conditions are going to be for using those funds and how we go about getting them. Other than that, Alva's been pretty busy. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I know I said that last month too, but we had all kinds of ball tournaments and stuff going on the square. And, it's a good time to be in Alva.
Okay. Any questions from management? Or the city council, really?
Oh, we're getting ready to also approve or have for consideration an ordinance to adopt the International Existing Building Code, which may come into play for some of the hangar owners out here if they ever decide they want to update or add on to their operation. It reduces some of the thresholds for code compliance depending on the scope of their proposed work. So that's probably going to happen, and that'll be good for most businesses in town that are looking to, expand their operations and do that sort of thing. So I'm actually kind of excited about that.
Once it's approved, when does it go into effect?
I imagine we'll approve it with an emergency clause and it would go in effective immediately.
So that's a relaxing.
It does relax things. It's a tiered way of looking at the building code requirements. There are 3 levels. So if you're at level 1, you have to come into compliance with the least amount of current code. Level 2 is another level of compliance with current code, and level 3 would be the highest level of compliance with the current code. So it all depends on the scope of the project that's being done, but most of the time people are not adding whole brand new operations to their existing operations, or not operations, but building plans, projects to their existing operations. So it should make a lot more, make our code a lot more friendly to development and expansion in the community.
Sounds great. Anything else on the city council report? Questions for the city? If not, we'll go on to the manager's report.
The fuel sales today was $9,243, and low lead was $5,458, and then the oil was $86.83. We had some people in the hangar, but I talked 2 of them into staying in the hangar just because there might have been some weather, so I didn't feel like I should charge them, so they got a free night in the hangar. So they were just happy to tie down on the ramp, but so the fuel cells were actually, fairly decent. We had the 3-point mower back. We had the wheels replaced and the bent guide arm replaced. There was a guide arm on there that was bent, which would make the left side sag, and then the wheels on there were all, been there since the beginning of that, so they were pretty worn. We'd taken the bat wing and the tractor to Western Equipment because at first it was a PTO shaft that was vibrating, and then it fell off twice. The second time it actually just broke off. So they put a new yoke on there and a PTO shaft, and we got it back today. And so I went to check it out and everything. There's Will on it. I mowed down south, and then some over here still. On the Fuel Master, the card's not working again. The card reader out there, it's just, sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't, and now it's just pretty much, it just doesn't. So anytime we see anybody be landing after hours, we try to stay or make sure they have our number. I've been called out twice, and there was a guy that landed at 5:40 earlier, so I just stayed so I could make sure he could fuel up. He actually stopped on his way to Florida, and then he stopped on his way back. So, but it's getting to the point where it is so old that it's just getting out of date. It's still analog, and we moved past analog in the early 2000s. So, Syntec, which is the Fuel Master company, they are going to a cloud-based communication. So what we have set up, since our underground lines are so deteriorated and just don't work anymore, when they went wireless, it still isn't very compatible with what they got going on. So we'd have to get a micronode, which would transfer the analog to digital, but it's $700 just for that micronode. plus $10 a month, and then so I can't remember what the fee was, but it's not really guaranteed in my eyes to actually work for a long period of time, so I don't know if we need to look into updating. I know it costs a lot, but most of them now are, you put a SIM card in there and it's like a cell phone, just automatic, and it would work every time. And I have not got a price on one of those. I'm kind of waiting to see if we can kind of work a deal with ASAP or something whenever, because I put in the 90 days contract termination letter via certified mail, and I got back the receipt, so they know that come September 1st, we're not going to renew that annual contract, so I could start, we could either go back with them or go with ASAP, but like I said, I really think ASAP can kind of help us out in different areas, so they might be able to work with us on a new fuel master as well. So I'm just kind of keeping my ears and eyes out for that one.
So ASAP is the company that you were looking at converting to for our fuel purchases?
Yeah.
And they may have equipment to upgrade the reader out here then?
Yeah, maybe even the whole console. So
And that's going wireless?
it would be, I'd have to, like I said, I don't know what they can do for us, but I know the new, like the ones at gas stations, most of them SIM card, you put, and it shoots out the data that way, the
So the new
transaction.
technology is.
Yeah, new technology,
Is a SIM card.
Yeah, SIM
type
card, yeah.
situation.
So you wouldn't have to worry about from what SPI is saying, it's old DSL 2 copper wire that we got going down under there, and, that went out ages ago, so. And with that set up, I was in here with a conversation, it all confused me, but one thing I did hear is what we have set up with the wireless isn't really compatible with what they're, it's not compatible enough to do the transaction wireless that way.
Our current wireless system
Yes.
here is not sufficient to support that? Okay.
Yeah, SPI put a wireless box, I've got two
Okay.
boxes in there, and it's supposed to shoot back and forth, so
Okay.
it's just not, it's not converting, is what they're saying. It's kind of over my head.
Who is our provider? Is it Suddenlink or is it AT&T?
It's AT&T, and the data or the infrastructure is very, very deteriorated, and there's not going to be any investment in new infrastructure. We have been testing at the rec center because they have the same issue. They have been testing some equipment through Nextlink there as their backup for when AT&T goes down, like for our phones and stuff. And so we're hoping that if that is successful, we can switch that over to be the primary at the rec center, and then that would be something that we could look at here as well. It's substantially better than what we currently have.
And Suddenlink doesn't serve the airport?
No. We're just kind of on the fringe, and what we have is
That's so
tier-
crazy because they're at the homestead. And it's a good service for the homestead.
And we can go back down that path, but to my knowledge, it's not here. So I know in talking with SPI, we've looked at it quite a bit, trying to figure out what we can do, because we have the same problem at the rec center, so.
So it's just a concern for me is we're going to miss out on, I think we've already missed out on one. But
Yeah, it's great for after our fuel sale. So it's something we need to prioritize as far as fixing,
Yeah.
maintain that.
that's just one thing I don't know how much it would cost. We'd have to kind of dive into that one a little more, so. I canceled the Dish Network in the Pilot's Lounge. We were paying $60 a month for pretty much 4 channels, the local channel. So it'd be just as easy to get like a fire stick or something, and you can get something on there at least. Most of the time, they wouldn't even be watching TV back there anyways, because the channel selection, you know. So, each way is to get a fire stick and pay a certain amount of money for a subscription for Hulu or something like that. Would probably be more beneficial.
So most people are probably, I would assume, watching on their own devices
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, most of the time they are, so. Unless we want to buy like a PlayStation 5 for back there or something.
Probably not gonna happen.
You know, rainy days. But, all right. Last month, honeybees invaded Paul's hangar over there, and Jeremy Loxton came out and relocated them. He was pretty happy that we let him come get them, and of course he was happy that he came and got them. So if they were wasps, I probably would just grab the fogger and fog them. But honeybees are a little different. And I got a free jar of honey and a piece of honeycomb, so that worked out pretty well. I've never had a raw honeycomb, and that's pretty good. I enjoyed that. I advertised the use of the terminal for meetings and conferences, and the Chamber of Commerce shared it on their page as well. So it's kind of nice having, you know, other places in the community to, you know, share our stuff and support us, so people know we're more than just, you know, local aviation. And I filled out an information form for the OA airport spotlight selection and sent in the requested pictures and information. And they already got it processed, and we were already spotlighted through the email they send out to everybody. Pretty much, you know, stating where we, kind of what businesses on site we have, and, you know, kind of a little information about our airport, and the history, and all that stuff. So it worked out pretty well. When I first started, a charter flight out of Florida came, and the first thing he asked when he got off the plane is if we were CAA. You know, at that point, I had no idea. I didn't know what we were. So, and then I just forgot about it. And then here recently, a pilot from Minnesota, they flew down a businessman looking at local business here, and mentioned the CAA again. It's Corporate Aircraft Association. It costs us nothing to become a preferred FBO member. There's 10,000 plus members, pilot members, and it's pretty much a pilot loyalty. So they would choose us over any other airport had they needed fuel or anything. So all we have to do is be 10 cents below the listed price. If we had a contract price, we'd have to be below that, but we don't. So we're already low enough that most everybody stops here anyways. But it'd be nice that those guys, because El Reno just became one, Idabel, I think. So there's not very many in Oklahoma that are members, so we could kind of catch some of those guys also. So I filled out that information and sent it in. And what they do is, so on July 1st, they'll send out that information to all the member pilots, and they'll vote to see if they want Alva Regional to be on that list, which I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get on that. So that brings in more traffic. When I was talking to the lady, she was telling me that Adam Fox from El Reno was saying how much it's done for their traffic. It's brought in several more jets. It's just jet traffic. It's not general aviation, so they bring in more jet traffic. So
Weeks like this, you're gonna need that GP.
yeah, I know.
Get more jet traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've already, well, I'll go over that later. It's been nice having two mechanics on site with Dale and Gary. We've already had a couple situations where a plane's come in and had some issues. Dale helped out with that. One put in a battery, and we had a 185 land here for fuel, and then when they got out of the plane, they realized they had a big old oil leak. So come to find out they had bent push rods, so Gary was able to get that fixed. He sent it out and got it back and put together, and they came and got it, I think, almost 2 weeks later. So it's nice knowing that if something should happen, we've got two really good mechanics that can take care of it. So, as a matter of fact, I had a call from a pilot asking if we had any mechanic, because he doesn't land anywhere that doesn't have a mechanic. I said we have two, and he was impressed that we had two. So,
Is that a secret?
so well, next time we'll say three. So, I mean, that's a big draw when somebody, knows that we have, if they have anything happen to their plane, that we have people to fix it. So, I also advertise with the whole email that gets sent out to everybody. Coffee and donuts every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. A couple from Sundance were out flying. This was a couple Sundays ago. Of course, they've heard people talk about our airport, and of course they wanted to look around, but they also stopped and had, because we had coffee and donuts. They stopped late because weather wasn't good in the morning, so they couldn't fly in the morning, so they thought maybe there'd be some left over, which there was. So it's been, now that the weather's actually nice, there for a minute every Sunday morning was just dreary, nobody could fly. So we actually had one come from Kansas yesterday for coffee and donuts, so maybe that'll, once the word gets out, we'll be a little busy. We were already busy yesterday, because I came in just to kind of have coffee and donuts and realized that we were going to have more jet traffic than what we thought. So Jason went and fueled the jet truck up, because I just filled it with 1,000 gallons, but that Falcon 50 took 1,100 gallons, so he took what I put in. So we put in 1,000 more, and then sold about 700 more gallons. So that day, so the jet traffic's really picking up. The pilot that was flying the Falcon said if he ever comes back this way, he'll stop here, especially said everybody should stop here with the fuel prices. So I imagine, of course, $3 a gallon compared to, I think the average for Southwest region is about $4. So and then I think it's 5 something for avgas, so quite a bit lower. And I wrote this down because I found this out today. We have another wet area from the water meter to the fire hydrant. We already had 2. They were pretty sizable, but now I got another one. I realized when I was mowing out there this morning. So it's just right in line. There's 3 of them, so we're going to have to figure.
I'll let Drake know. We've been trying to prioritize. We've had quite a few instances of leaks, so I'll let him know so we can.
They have, those other 2 haven't got much bigger. Man, they're a breeding ground for mosquitoes. I'm not a big fan of the size of the
So
mosquitoes.
these are line breaks you think we have?
We looked at it. When Ronnie came down, we got in there, and the meter's not running, so I don't know where it's even coming from. I don't know.
There's something we need to look into though, for sure, especially if it's getting worse. We need to take a look at it and see.
we thought maybe it was a bad meter, so we came in and started running water, and then the meter was moving, so I really don't know.
See if we can
Did
get
you
you.
get some of those mosquito pucks or something for now?
We should probably, I mean, probably would hurt. That is kind of getting a little bit stinky, stale water, so. I'm pretty sure that's all I got.
Any questions for the manager?
Do we have any idea when we're gonna start the ramp project?
Did he say late June? He said late June. They're waiting on the company that they got contracted to do it, I think still, they're still on a project or they're finishing up, so as soon as they get done.
I can call and visit with Toby tomorrow and send him an email. I meant to do that today and I had forgotten. So I know you talked to him, 2 weeks ago, and he had said late June, but we
Yeah.
talked to him in early March and he had said late March. And so here,
Right.
but I'll touch base and try to send an email out tomorrow.
I had noticed in the accounts payable that when the electric companies come out and look on the door, was it a failure in the switch or in the motor of the door? Or
Yeah, it was I want to say in the capacitor, there was something in there that went out, so it ended up being what, $200 and some altogether.
all of our
just-
hangers still full?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure. We'll have one open one when John Wigner gets that Winnegar's old one done. His project's delayed, so he's gonna go month to month on his south share. And then it'll be open when he moves into there.
Do we have a waiting list?
Yeah. I think it's about 4 deep so far.
Okay.
I'm sure once these guys that have done their first solos and get ready to go, they'll probably want one too, so. I'm not too sure what we want to do with this. Somebody's interested in putting, I think it's a Cheyenne, I can't remember what it is, but it's about the size of a 421, but it's a twin jet. They want to put in the round top. But they haven't, it's somebody out of town, I think from Kiowa. They said if they could find a spot, they'd buy it, but if not, it would bring a jet and they'd be buying fuel from here and stuff. You just have to figure out if it's worth taking up half a hangar and what we would charge them, because you can't charge them $38.50 for a big jet like that.
Charge them the appropriate amount of space they're using.
Right. I think it'd take up 4 spots, or at least 3, so.
That it would fit in that hangar?
Yeah, they shot me the specs, and I think we beat it by a few feet.
Horizontally and vertically?
Yeah. Yeah, they needed a little under 13 feet, and it's right at 13 feet high, so, yeah. And so we've only got one plane in there right now, so. Well, besides the broke 310 that's still in there.
What was it that Terry used to put in there?
Carry.
What, they had to jack the nose up to get the tail down?
Well, that was
Is that Terry?
Mike that did that.
What was it? I thought that was that Twin Commander or something that he flew from up in Kansas. Was it Mike?
The Terry?
Pretty sure it was.
Okay. guess I don't remember that. That wheel was originally made for one with Mike, or,
Like, you know,
yeah, and it was a CJ. They put a CJ that he was fine for an oil company in there.
I knew that Terry right did about that one.
Yeah, I think that the CJ was what originally that wheel jack was made for, and then Terry may have used it a little bit too.
We do, it's buried, but we do have a nose wheel jack. For airplanes that have tails too tall, you jack up the nose, drop the tail, and you can run it in the hangar.
It seems like maybe it was used for a King Air also. And Mike may have started out with a King Air and then went to the CJ. I don't remember. Okay. Anything else? Any questions for the manager?
Sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah. That's been really busy.
Have we had any people apply for the other part-time job?
No. Thought we had a guy, but I don't think so.
He's not brought an application, but
Not brought it in. No. Yeah. Jason and I have been keeping up with the mowing pretty well. Especially now that the bat wing's back, we can kind of hit some of these spots that can be hit with the bat wing rather than a small tractor or something. It's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be.
But looking over the budget, does it look like we're going to be able to make the end of the year without any budget amendment?
We should be able to, Derek and I have been talking about that, part of the thing with the card reader, we kind of put that off till we get into the next budget year because we know that's going to be an expense. We need to talk about what the tractor repair expense was. I think we should be okay without having to make any budget amendments, but I'll take a look. We may have to make one in July to finish out, but our oil revenue is ahead, so that it gives us a little bit more flexibility, but it'll be close, but we should be okay. But that's my big concern for next year, and talking about not having another part-time person. That doesn't give Derek, he's working a lot of overtime, and we've got to try to figure out how to balance that. And plus, he just needs to be able to have some time away too, so.
Personally, I hate for us to delay too long on getting that car fixed. I think you don't want the word getting out that the airport has to be attended to get fuel, or you have to call somebody out.
I think we're working on it as what we can, but it's just kind of pushed it off to the beginning of July, so we hopefully will. You're still in contact and trying to figure out what our next step is.
Yeah, what if we go with this? We could go with the micro node to see how it goes. That'd probably be the cheapest, but
I would bet ASAP would bring equipment in.
I don't know how soon I can get.
But if that would be September, that's too long.
Yeah. If this is just kind of a Band-Aid till we can get something figured out, until then, like I said, it's a $10 a month plus a small fee percentage, I think. So.
Plus the $700 initially, correct?
Yeah, but he said once we get it, we fill out the paperwork, he can have it, he could have his end done in 45 minutes, and we could just, once we get it, James from SPI can hook it up and we'd be up and going.
See if you can get any other airports that are using that system. Talk to them and see how it's working for them.
Yeah, I'll call him and see if he knows anybody that is actually using that.
Because we've upgraded the pump. We've got all these, we're ready to expand the ramp. We got to keep that viable. And I know you're doing everything you can. I just hate to see it put off for too long.
I just don't, I think once we get it going, if it works, I bet that's great, but I just hate to do all that and then we still have issues. But I guess we'll see.
In your current system, do you have any way of knowing, before that went down, do you have any way of knowing how much fuel you sold after hours?
Yeah, when you pull a report, and I would pull a report first thing in the morning, you could see exactly what time somebody.
So in a 30-day period, would your sales exceed what that costs?
No, yeah, probably.
There's your answer.
I don't know about the monthly fee, probably.
Well, I understand.
But not
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
yeah.
If you lose those sales because they can't get it,
Right.
as
Yeah.
opposed to getting those sales and spending the money.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I ordered a half load of avgas at $3.81 a gallon. And I'd hate to raise the price too much because then we'd be way out in front of everybody around us. But I think if what I raised it to, we could still make a profit. Because we got some people that fly from South Dakota, New Mexico, Nebraska, even Iowa, that have stopped here on the way to Texas or something, because they were the cheapest in the Midwest. So, I'd hate to see if I raised it too much, then we wouldn't get any of that either. So.
Right.
Okay, anything else for the manager? If not, we'll go on to the next item, number 5, discussion and action regarding repairs to the fuel truck and the tractor. I guess you've got the tractor going. Is there anything we need to do on the fuel truck?
I called Moisures. I forgot to do it Friday, so I did it today. We just have to take it there and they'll put it in their rotation to get it fixed. I called Jason to see if he'd come help me or follow me or whatever, but we couldn't even get it started. I think all the teeth in the starter wore off, so it was just wheezing. So it just started. It almost started, and then next thing you know, it just was like that last tooth broke off, and so I don't know if we can pull it there or something.
So Ronnie said, I don't help you with that.
Yeah, so they asked me what I thought was wrong with it. And, I mean, there's multiple things that could be wrong with it, and I'm not one to pinpoint which what, but whether it be the vacuum lines plus the carburetor, and of course I know now, I mean, it's the starter for sure is why it's not starting, but that's not saying what's wrong with the dying and all that stuff either. So.
Needs to be distributed. Distributed somewhere. For what? Okay. I guess there's no action we need to take on that, so we'll move on to the next item, remarks and inquiries by airport commission members. Anybody have anything?
Yes. I don't know if I need just need to notify the board or if there's any action needs to be taken or whatnot, but on July 31st, which is a Saturday, we're having a celebration of life thing for my dad, and part of that, we're inviting old employees back and things like that nature. And that afternoon, for a couple hours, we're going to have the relocated museum open, and they can visit the old shop. And I don't know how many vehicles will be out here. Do you want me to just work with Derek and figure out spots, or do I need to come back and present to the board what we want to do, or what's your pleasure?
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of spots.
I'd say work with Derek.
Okay. But it'll just take a couple hours of time, and I mean, we got the grass to the north of that building there, and then if it happens to rain or whatever, I thought we could use the west side, south end of that ramp there where I lease those 2 T-anchors, because I wouldn't be blocking anybody to park vehicles, just something. But invariably when something like, they plan something like this, it's a busy day out here. I just want to make sure everything's coordinated where somebody has concerns, then the board and the manager's aware of things.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with any of that.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to the next item, remarks and inquiries by citizens. And we have nothing here. So we'll go on to the next item, which is adjourned.